Hello and welcome to Foreign Dispatches, the program that takes you around the world. I'm Teniola Shobowale. On the program this week, Taiwan says tensions with China are at their worst in 40 years. Plus, a Facebook whistleblower testifies in the U.S. Senate that Facebook harms children, stokes division, and weakens democracy. The increase in Chinese military activity in Taiwan over the last few months has caused global concern. Taiwan's defense minister says military relations with Beijing are at their worst in 40 years. The comments came after China sent a record number of military jets into Taiwan's air defense zone for 4 consecutive days.
As tensions mount between China and Taiwan, U.S. President Joe Biden spoke on the phone to Chinese President Xi Jinping this week. Biden told reporters on Tuesday that both leaders had agreed to keep to the Taiwan Agreement, an apparent reference to Washington's policy of recognizing Beijing rather than Taipei, on the expectation that the future of Taiwan will be determined by peaceful means.
I've spoken with Xi about Taiwan. We agree we'll abide by the Taiwan Agreement. That's what we are. And we made it clear that I don't think he should be doing anything other than abiding by the agreement.
China claims Taiwan has its own territory and has not ruled out the possible use of force to achieve unification. The island, which broke away from the mainland in 1949, rejects Beijing's claims and has its own democratically elected government. Over a 4-day period beginning last Friday, Taiwan reported close to 150 Chinese Air Force aircraft entered its air defense zone. The show of force from Beijing has been condemned by Washington and Taipei. Taiwan's defense minister said on Wednesday, China will be capable of mounting a full-scale invasion by 2025, adding that relations were at the worst level in more than 40 years. Officials say Taiwan needs to be on alert for China's over-the-top military activities, which are violating regional peace.
Taiwan definitely needs to be on alert. China is increasingly over the top. The world has also seen China's repeated violations of regional peace and pressure on Taiwan. So democratic countries have repeatedly issued warnings that our countrymen have to be self-reliant. We have also seen President Tsai ceaselessly supporting the national army. We must come together as one and strengthen ourselves. Only then will countries that want to annex Taiwan not dare to easily resort to force.
Japan has also weighed in, saying it was watching the situation closely and hoped China and Taiwan could resolve their differences through talks. Taiwan has lived under the threat of invasion since the defeated Republic of China government fled to the island after losing a civil war with the communists.
Let's head over to the United States now, where a Facebook whistleblower who released tens of thousands of pages of internal research and documents testified in the Senate this week about the company's impact on kids. The former Facebook product manager said the company puts profit over people and its products harm children, stoke division, and weakens democracy.
I'm here today because I believe Facebook's products harm children, stoke division, and weaken our democracy.
Explosive testimony from a former Facebook employee turned whistleblower, Frances Hogan, a former product manager in Facebook's civic misinformation team, told the Congressional Committee on Tuesday that Facebook knowingly amplifies divisive and harmful content, choosing profit over safety, and that Facebook has sought to keep its operations confidential amidst mounting scrutiny, especially in regards to its effects on children.
Facebook wants you to believe that the problems we're talking about are unsolvable. They want you to believe in false choices. They want you to believe that you must choose between a Facebook full of divisive and extreme content or losing one of the most important values our country was founded upon, free speech. That you must choose between public oversight of Facebook's choices and your personal privacy. That to be able to share fun photos of your kids with old friends you must also be inundated with anger-driven virality. They want you to believe that this is just part of the deal. I am here today to tell you that's not true. These problems are solvable. A safer, free speech respecting, more enjoyable social media is possible. But there's one thing that I hope everyone takes away from these disclosures. It is that Facebook can change, but is clearly not going to do so on its own.
Lawmakers in both parties pounced.
Its only real principle is profit.
Mark Zuckerberg's going sailing and saying no apologies.
Accusing CEO and founder Mark Zuckerberg of pushing for higher profits while being cavalier about user safety, and they demanded that regulators investigate whistleblower accusations that the social media company harms children and stokes divisions.
Our children are the ones who are victims. Teens today, looking at themselves in the mirror, feel doubt and insecurity. Mark Zuckerberg ought to be looking at himself in the mirror today. And yet, rather than taking responsibility and showing leadership, Mr. Zuckerberg is going sailing.
In the end, the buck stops with Mark. There is no one currently holding Mark accountable but himself.
Huggins said Facebook had also done too little to prevent its site from being used by people planning violence, saying its focus on metrics trumped ethical concerns.
Facebook can change, but is clearly not going to do so on its own. My fear is that without action, divisive and extremist behaviors we see today are only the beginning. What we saw in Myanmar and are now seeing in Ethiopia are only the opening chapters of a story so terrifying, no one wants to read the end of it.
A Facebook spokeswoman disputed Huggins' knowledge of the company's inner workings. The Senate hearing reflects the rising anger in Congress with Facebook amidst numerous demands for legislative reforms, with senators warning that Facebook faces a reckoning akin to other industries like big tobacco. The hearing came a day after Facebook and its units, including Instagram, suffered a major outage. Facebook is the world's most popular social media site. The company says it has 2.7 billion monthly active users. Hundreds of millions of people also use the company's other products, including WhatsApp and Instagram. But it has been criticized on several fronts, from failing to protect users' privacy to not doing enough to halt the spread of disinformation.
We shift focus to Ethiopia as the United Nations World Food Programme says it has completed a first round of food distribution in Amhara and Afar regions. However, the WFP warns that it's struggling to deliver aid in Tigray, where war broke out 11 months ago.
For Nobit Sahile Kide and her 7-year-old son, it's a welcome sight. Supplies of vegetable oil, wheat and pulses. But the World Food Programme is warning that others in Ethiopia are facing a humanitarian catastrophe as it struggles to reach all those affected by the conflict that erupted out of Tigray. 11 months of violence have displaced more than 2 million people, including Nobit, who is now staying with distant relatives in the town of Debak. She says she and her 4 children traveled by foot to escape fighters.
As we were on foot, we had to cross a river that could have drowned us, but some people helped us to cross as they were children with us. It was very challenging. Some people were injured during our escape, and we had to hide in the villages along the way.
And those 2 regions are where the WFP says it had completed a first round of food distribution.
The United Nations World Food Programme, WFP, has completed its first round of food distributions to people impacted by the spread of conflict into Afar and Amhara regions. However, a lack of supplies due to various impediments to the movement of humanitarian aid still sees distributions in Tigray lagging behind.
Another WFP spokesperson, Gemma Snowden, said operations have been expanded as Tigray's conflict has spread in northern Ethiopia.
As conflict spreads across northern Ethiopia, it's having a very real impact on the families caught up in its path with food insecurity rising. WFP is expanding its operations across northern Ethiopia to meet these growing needs, and it's absolutely vital that we're able to reach all of the communities where people are in need of food assistance before we have a humanitarian catastrophe on our hands.
But a lack of supplies and other issues caused by the conflict means distributions into Tigray are lagging. Last week, the UN's aid chief, Martin Griffiths, said he assumes famine has taken hold in Tigray. He said a nearly 3-month de facto blockade has restricted aid deliveries to 10% of what is needed. Ethiopia, which last week announced it was expelling 7 senior UN officials, has previously denied blocking food aid.
Meanwhile, speaking of the World Food Programme, youth leaders took centre stage in the fight to feed the world by raising awareness, inspiring action and identifying solutions at the World Food Forum, a youth-led movement that took place this week. Let's take a look.
And with that, I'd like to hand over to...
Thousands of young people from across the globe followed 5 days of virtual debates, innovation, science and cultural celebrations in Rome, rallying under the slogan, "Nothing about us without us." Youth leaders called for food to be considered a public good and a basic human right. And with the 26th United Nations Climate Change Conference, COP26, in Glasgow, just around the corner, they also urged politicians to work together to make agri-food systems more sustainable.
Our biggest goal is always the same, that is a transformation of agri-food systems, and the World Food Forum has strived to give the youths the driving seats to lead this change. And we also know that we have only 9 harvests left until 2030.
The policies that are being made today, the work that you're doing today, is going to affect the young and future generation. So it is important that they have a seat at the table. And I'll repeat what we have said in UNEA, we have said in Stockholm, nothing about us without us. And that has to be reflected not just in words, but in actions.
The October 1-5 gathering was the first follow-up to the United Nations Food Systems Summit, which was held in New York in September. Ahead of World Food Day on October 16, the final day of the forum also featured Junior World Food Day, a special event celebrating food heroes of all ages in the fields of farming, food, innovation, science, sports and the arts. Thomas Pesquet, a French astronaut and FAO Goodwill Ambassador, sent a message to the youth from the International Space Station.
The world really needs to favor more sustainable farming that protects the environment. We can help, choosing foods produced with sustainable methods or foods that use less water from irrigation to produce and are kinder to the earth's soils.
The FAO Director General also shared with children his personal stories of how he had experienced hunger and poverty firsthand while growing up in a rice farming family in rural China.
I'm proud to have contributed to ending hunger in China, both as a scientist and as a government official. Now, as the Director General of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO, I'm very honored and privileged to be able to offer my expertise and experience to serve all the people around the world. I could not have possibly dreamed of this as a poor rural kid 50 years ago. This has happened to me. This could happen to any of you in the future.
Junior World Food Day also saw the launch of an inspiring multilingual music video featuring children in 6 countries: Armenia, Chile, China, Cameroon, Ireland and Lebanon, singing about what it takes to become a food hero and calling on others to join them.
When Foreign Dispatches returns in just a moment, we take a peek at Nigeria's pavilion at the Expo 2020 in Dubai. Please stay with us. You're still watching Foreign Dispatches on Channels Television. South Africa's electoral landscape is agog with political campaigns, political talk, and not forgetting feuds that come with the territory. Voters are expected to come out in numbers to elect local councillors in this year's elections, which will be yet another test of the popularity of the ruling African National Congress, ANC, which has been in the news for all the wrong reasons.
It's election time in South Africa, so it is promises time.
What is the EFF going to do when we take over on the issue of the land? Every EFF municipality will conduct land audit of its municipal areas to determine through land ownership details of every piece of land in the municipality, ascertain current land use, and expropriate abandoned land and unused land for redistribution to the landless.
Let us vote for the only party big enough to bring change, and the only party big enough to keep the ANC and EFF out of your town. Let us vote for 5 uninterrupted years of service delivery, and only if you're satisfied with those 5 years, another 5 after that.
While the opposition political parties are looking to make inroads where the ruling African National Congress appears to have done badly, the ANC is approaching the people with apologies and even more promises.
We pledge to you, the people of South Africa, that we will do better, much better than we have done in the past. This is a pledge, and this is what we dedicate ourselves to you on.
It's a tougher call this time for the ruling political party, whose dwindling popularity was laid bare at the last local government polls in 2016. Former President Jacob Zuma, fresh out on medical parole, has even added his voice to appeals for those who are threatening not to vote to reconsider. The ANC goes to the elections dogged by corruption allegations, in-house divisions, squabbles over candidates' list, municipal mismanagement scandals, and an economy that was shaky way before COVID-19.
What we are seeing, therefore, is a complex transformation within the party and the society itself. It is almost certain that ANC will shift grounds in terms of holding on to its traditional strongholds. Some parties will gain grounds, especially the EFF, and this new configuration will determine to a very large extent how the general election will play out later on.
On the streets, we asked the people what they expect from the aspiring local government representatives.
They must fix what we think that is important for us. Mostly electricity, mostly water. We need it to be at least flat rate.
What we want to see as young people is the radical move towards the expropriation of land without compensation. There must be a radical move towards the nationalization of all mines and financial sectors in order to use those resources to fund free and quality decolonized education.
Please help us. We go out to look for firewood every morning to prepare fire for our kids to go to school. We don't have electricity. Please do your magic, President Ramaphosa, for us to vote for you.
For the youth, I would genuinely appreciate it if the ANC could have more youth programs, seeing as most of us are unemployed and even those of us that are attending school don't necessarily have funding.
The new South Africa, it needs a new leader, a fresh one.
Also in the mix are independent candidates, about 900 of them, who hope people will look beyond party logos and other enticements to vote for people who would truly serve them.
We encourage people to go and register to vote, because why I say that, it's because that you are able to go to the polls and vote for the people that are going to change the status quo. You understand? Because if you stay away, then the problems are going to persist.
November the 1st, 2021 is D-Day, and 325 out of the 504 registered political parties are fielding candidates to elect councils for all 44 district, 8 metropolitan and 205 local municipalities.
And finally on the program, despite a diplomatic row with the UAE, the host country of Expo 2020 over COVID-19 protocols, Nigeria has opened its pavilion located in the Opportunity District. In this next report, our correspondent, Mayowa Adegoke, gives us a peek at the pavilion, which is expected to attract investors and tourists over the next 6 months. Take a look.
Breathtaking performances, special effects and captivating musical performances achieved Dubai's desired effect as it kicked off the 6-month-long Expo 2020 in the Al Wassil Plaza. It's the first expo hosted in the Middle East, Africa and South Asia region in 170 years of the expo. This time, 192 participating countries take up space in 200 pavilions available. Multi-Grammy Award winner Angelique Kidjo was among 5 global artists performing at the event, bringing attention to Africa.
Expo 2020 Dubai, wallah wali at-tawfiq.
UAE top leadership attended the event that's strictly by invitation, but small celebrations held across the city.
I'm extremely happy. Dubai is full, tourists are here, and I have the feeling that soon we'll stop wearing masks and we are ready for the expo. I'm so happy. This is a big and a good development. I'm really excited for what's to come.
Residents watch the event unfold online or on multiple screens in public areas, including restaurants. Old Castello in Jumeirah 1 has a special dish to celebrate the occasion.
So we are going to have the special potato cheese balls, and around it is going to be the Expo logo. So we have tried to attempt and make a good amuse-bouche. It's a palate taster that we want to give throughout the month of October as a good way of, thanking the leadership for starting something so beautiful. Now about 25 million people are expected during this time. So we're expecting a good number of people to come in, and yes, it's good for our business as well.
We're going to have the whole world here. We're ready to welcome them with a city that is back to its vibe. So come on everyone, join us. Dubai is back to normal and back to life.
This expo will see all African countries have their own unique pavilions for the first time in expo history. Nigeria's pavilion is located in the Opportunity District and open to the public. Nigerian music fills the air on arrival, while images of different cultural attires are displayed on the walls outside. The roof is covered with art by Victor Eikamenon. Inside the pavilion, different sections promote opportunities in the creative, agricultural, culture and tourism, sports and tech sectors. From Afrobeat star Fela Anikulapo Kuti to Grammy winner Burna Boy, the success stories of Nigeria's music industry are on display. Screens in the pavilion share information about states and sectors in need of investment. Art is also on display. From the ancient to the contemporary, sculptor Dotun Popo's Irinpemi is a star attraction. The artist shared via social media that this piece kept him busy during the 2020 pandemic till April 2021. How successful Nigeria's participation in the expo will be, and if this pavilion will become a hub to attract investment and tourists to the country, is yet to be seen.
We'll definitely have more from the Expo 2020. But for now, this is where we say goodbye. Remember, you can always catch up with all our top stories on channelstv.com. I'm Tenyola Shobowale. See you next time.